Welcome to Stepdad Success, turning the tide on the way stepdads are seen and show up in the world. We're a new breed of leaders raising leaders. Blood or no blood, we raise them as our own. We're connected, loving, and committed to leading them into the future. If you asked a normal dad, he'd say we're doing the impossible. He'd say, but they're not yours. How do you do it? Yet every day, stepdads around the world are forging the way. That's what we call Stepdad Success. We're leaders raising leaders. And these are our stories. James Klobassa here from Stepdad Success, and today I wanted to let you in behind the curtain and tell you a story of how I've been able to expand my relationship and what I've had to do, to facilitate that, what I've had to break through, some of the old thinking and the old stories that I've had to break through to allow my relationship to flourish. Guys, they seem to have a big problem around committing to long-term relationships, and that was certainly me. When I was growing up, I've told the story before, I had a very rough upbringing. I didn't value relationships, and I didn't value the relationship between a man and a woman. My dad was quite violent towards my mum, and that left a lot of scars for me to overcome. As I grew up, as I went through my teen years, girls were fun, and to be quite honest, at the time they were probably a bit more like sport than relationships. I would bounce from one girlfriend to the next girlfriend. I didn't have any stable relationships, nothing that I thought would carry on, further into the future. And it was because of the thinking I had around relationships. As I said, a rough upbringing does funny things to you, puts different stories in your head. For me, I could never see a long-term vision for my relationships. So I kind of considered myself one of those guys that would, just grow old, be single, and never have a family and that sort of thing. And that's a sad place to be. As you get older, as I got into my 30s, I was like, wow, this really isn't serving me. I actually do want a family. I do want, I want people around me. I want that love. I want that homely life. And I really had to start challenging my own thinking on what family meant to me. For you, it may be something different. We all come from different backgrounds. We all have our own challenges. But as I said, for me, the real challenge was I didn't have any long-term thinking around a family because of the base that I'd built off. And I've talked about the power of questions and building a solid foundation from asking yourself good questions in some of the past podcasts. But, where I was at that time, coming into my 30s thinking, wow, what am I going to have to change here to be able to create the family life that I saw for myself? That I really had to go deep. I had to ask the tough questions. But in looking at it, I kind of saw myself, and I saw myself as a guy that would chop and change. He'd go from one and then, wouldn't be happy. I'd go to the next girl, go to the next girl, kept chopping and changing. But if I looked across other areas of my life, like I looked into the sporting arena, I was a stayer in that area. I could manage to stay with a sport for 7 years, 8 years, 10 years. That's how I became so proficient at hockey, and that's how I went on to represent Australia in water skiing. I stayed the course. I did the work, So I realized that, even in my business world, I built big businesses. I'd become proficient at my trades when I was younger. So I started to look at that and think, wow, if I'm a stayer in this area, why aren't I a stayer in my relationship area? What's failing me there? Why am I failing to commit to a longer term relationship? And I started to look at my feelings around that conversation. What were the feelings I was feeling about family? Because our feelings drive our kind of vision, the possibilities that we can create for ourselves. They drive the fire inside us. So I started to look at the feelings around family, what that meant to me. And that drew me back to my younger years where I didn't see any value in family. I didn't see any passion. I didn't see any love. So that building a family now was almost impossible. I saw myself as that guy that would chop and change. But once I understood where my feelings were on that and how they had to change, that drove the change in my relationships. I started to have longer relationships. I started to get more committed to relationships. Changing my thinking around me being a choppy, changey guy to an actual stayer had me commit at a much deeper level in my relationship now. Nowadays, my relationships are fantastic because I do have a long-term vision. I can see a bigger future, and it's a bright and rosy future compared to the past where I couldn't see past, a few months. So think about that today. I want you to think about your relationships, think about your body, think about your being and your balance, and how all of those areas line up to your feelings. If there's one area that you can't quite get right, dig a little deeper, dive into it. Ask yourself the tough questions and see, if it's your feelings that are actually holding you back, as it was for me. Hit your journals today, do the work, dig deeper. This is the way we gain rewards. This is how we get the results. Living the warrior's way, diving deeper into ourselves so that we can, be better for ourselves and, of course, better for our kids. Remember, we're leaders raising leaders. Would you like to learn more about how stepdads across the globe are joining forces in raising the next generation of leaders? Then head to www.stepdadsuccess.com and grab all the show notes plus a copy of the brand new tactical guide for creating more happiness, health, wealth, and wisdom as a stepdad. And if you liked the podcast, please share it with other stepdads you know and leave us a review on iTunes. Again, that's www.stepdadsuccess.com for all the show notes and tactical guide. Come and join the new breed of stepdads, the growing group of leaders raising leaders.